You like that, eh? All right, good morning, everyone. We're going to kick it off here. Okay, U.S. stocks actually made a reasonable comeback on Friday evening from being down double digits on the S&P. I think we finished down modestly, close to the day's highs. We had weaker than expected retail sales and consumer confidence data. Nothing too material, but it didn't stop the descent in gold and other commodities. I mean, we have gold that officially entered a bear market after dropping more than 20% from September's highs. Obviously, it took $50 on the helmet the last 2 days, so that really contributed to a big part of that. But now it's not just gold; it's all commodities. You're seeing a total washout here, pretty much across the board, and I think it's really, really, really important in what we're looking at. The one thing I will say is that it is actually a very bullish thing for I think for markets that this is actually happening. So anyway, Asia also had a very poor session today. You can see the yen backed well off of its recent lows, putting in some downside pressure on the equity market there. You also had China, that's GDP growth came in lighter than expected, so that also added a little bit of pressure to the commodity sell-off. And we've just seen that whole thing accelerate since Friday afternoon. We have a lot of corporate action today. In the U.S., we only have one major that's reporting today. That's Citigroup. We're expecting $1.17. That's coming out at 2 o'clock our time. We're looking for 20.17 on the 20.17 billion on the revenue number there. We got a lot of stocks going ex-div today: GRF, MND, WBO, SBK, REM, and CPI. So keep an eye on those this morning, especially maybe a Standard Bank, quite a reasonable dividend. A couple of the other ones, if you guys are looking to play those on the open, just don't forget about them. Interesting that on the back of all the selling here, we had Anglos that was actually raised to neutral versus underweight at JP Morgan. You also had Goldfields that was raised to neutral versus sell at Citi. You had Harmony that was cut to sell versus neutral at Citi. And then you had MTN that was cut to underperform versus neutral at Bank of America, Merrill Lynch. The one thing I would point out about those three is that those three banks have really been moving markets a little bit when they make calls. So some of these things could be in the price, and then some of them could have a little bit left to move. All right. We had obviously had the GDP number out of China, which was weaker than expected. I really don't think that's a shocker number, but nevertheless a little bit weaker than expected. The Japanese industrial production and machine tool orders, which were more or less broadly in line. And then we've got later in the States, we've got Empire Manufacturing and net long-term flows out in the States. So nothing major from here on out today for the data front, but it's going to be an interesting day. Nonetheless, let's have a look at the maps here. All right. Looks like MTN was raised to neutral versus underperform at B of A Merrill. Sorry, not cut. Sorry about that. All right. Let's have a look at the maps here. The first thing I want to have a look at is the spot gold price. If you guys aren't following us on Twitter, you should probably do that, because we were calling this move the whole day on Friday. The breakdown that we had in the gold price, we showed this chart on Twitter right as we went through 1540, and you can see what happened immediately thereafter. We also were showing intraday charts on a couple of the other miners that were starting to really break down. You can see there, I mean, that chart really says it all. I mean, that's a 5-year chart. We've kind of made this flag pattern, but we've broken to the downside of support. This could really get ugly. I mean, we're talking about a move from 1900 all the way down to a break below 1550. So we the target for the gold price in terms of technically could be viciously lower than this, and I think we've already seen $100 of it. But I think I realistically think that there could be more over the intermediate term. Maybe we get a day cap bounce the next day or two, but I think the gold price could really be poised to move lower than this. Very, very important to keep an eye on that. All right, Harmony, this is something that we were also tweeting about on Friday. We caught this right as it broke below 53.30, and you can see there we really it just totally shattered. After that, we moved to trade to $50. I'm not sure 100. I think we closed it just above 50, but we traded to 50 rand on the day. Closed a touch lower than that in London, but just a vicious sell-off. We also talked about Goldfields breaking down. We were looking at it on more of a 30-day here, and this breakdown from this how it had popped its head up here, and really I actually think the level is right up around here, around 63, which is where we tweeted the level from. You can see how we ripped down below that. We traded about 61.5. That selling continued in the States. We closed at about 61 there. From the breakdown on this move, Goldfields, we could see 68.50 down to 63. We could looking for $5.50 below that level, so we could be looking all the way at 57.50 and Goldfields as a target price. Let me just jump back to Harmony real quick, and we can just talk about where a target may be as well. You can look, same thing here. It was really below 53. In terms of a closing basis where we were talking about getting short, and that target comes all the way up here from, call it 57. So we also could see about another $4, which would really only put us down around 49 rand. So quite bearish action going on in these things. Obviously, don't get caught off trying to bottom pick these things at the moment. All right, Impalas looks very much the same as the gold shares did a day or two ago. So let's have a look at this level. The level's really right at 123. You can see there, and we've come from right when we came back to test where we broke down from right up here at about 132. So let's call it 131.50. So in terms of a target, we could really be looking at another 8 rand to the downside below 123, and we did manage to bounce up and close right at 123. So I think 115 could be quite a realistic target in Impalas in the near term on this technical breakdown that we saw. This is obviously going to be a very commodities focused meeting here, so let's just continue on the trend here. We'll show Amplats as well. Also, kind of looking like a inverse cup and handle there. You can see to break down right here below 343, which is kind of the bottom end of this range. If I was to zoom forward a touch, you can see it a little bit more clearly. That level's really started to define itself a little bit. Obviously, I'm at 42. I think it needs to be up a touch, but very important that we break this level today, which is 2 rand or 1 rand lower than where we closed. We could really be seeing significant downside. I would say let's run this target from 58 down to 43. We could be looking at another $16-17 to the downside in Amplats very quickly. All right. Next one, Anglos. Just sticking with this commodity breakdown that we're looking at. Anglos at 226, which we just closed below. We can actually look. I think we can back this out a touch. And you can see there how we've really ripped down to 26. We tested it, and this is 1, 2, 3, 4 trading days that we've tested 226. We closed narrowly below it on Friday. I expect this thing to trade a little bit lower, significantly lower this morning on the open. Who knows what will happen from there? One thing I want you guys to keep in mind and be careful of going into the day today is that any long move or in terms of 3-month, 4-month, 5-month trend in any type of sector or stock or things like that, typically the end of the move is marked by a capitulation move. And the one thing that has me a bit nervous is that in terms of playing the shorts of these is that this feels really very much like a capitulation move. That capitulation move doesn't necessarily happen in one day, but you can see how the physicals are breaking down. Some of the shares are starting to show really steep one-day losses. So if this isn't capitulation of miners. I think we are very close. So it's something to just keep an eye out for. If all of a sudden the action, if these things are just trading incredibly strong, much stronger than they should be, if they start to get back above any of these support levels, I think it's really important that you take cognizance of that and that you look to get out of any shorts that you may have on at that point. I'm going to show Sassel as well, and you can see here all these patterns and every one of these resources looking almost identical, also closed just below support. This is a hell of a big little pullback over the past couple of days. You can see there from 402 all the way down to 380, 385. We did manage to close up in the auction, so we did close up above this level, but we break below 385 today in Sassel. I mean, we really could be staring at $27 potentially on the downside of that. And I wanted to go back on the back of that and see here. You can see how we've broken support on the trend line quite badly. And then if we go back to a 5-year daily, you can also see here how we really, in terms of long-term support, are still quite a ways off, and that would actually line up really well to our 25 Rand pullback that we could potentially be looking at down around 365. So just keep that in mind. 360, 365 might be kind of coming into support on Sassel. If you guys are looking to nibble somewhere, that would be the area I would think would be right in the stock. Okay, and the last couple of things we'll have a look at here. We'll look at a couple of the overseas listings. We'll look at Croda here and on the LSE, and we broke hard on Friday below 26.90. You can see target from the top end of this range. We're looking at about $1.60. We've already fallen about 85 cents or so, so probably close to almost a pound to the downside, which would put us up nicely here at the support around $25. So keep that in mind. Watch that one closely. And the last one I'll show is Tesco, and Tesco really is actually breaking up. I'll just shorten this up a touch, and you can see here how we've broken above resistance on the close on Friday on Tesco, out of this little consolidation range, and I think really we could have as much as 16, 17p to the upside here out of Tesco, which is quite significant, seeing as how it's a £3.80 share. So watch those two today. Thanks a lot. That's it for today, guys.